The Glycerin 22 is built to unlock that run forever feeling, optimized for soft landings and powerful toe-offs at every point of every step. How? 2 types of nitrogen-infused cushioning seamlessly tuned into one experience. Softness has never been this powerful. Let's run there. Learn more at brooksrunning.com.
Are negative Google reviews hurting your business? Don't let unfair feedback cost you customers. At Webamax, we specialize in removing false, misleading, and damaging reviews so your online reputation stays strong. Our expert team works quickly and legally to clean up your digital presence, helping you rebuild trust. Visit us on the web at www.gowebamax.com. That's GOWEBIMAX.com, or text us for a free quote at 856-840-8343. Don't let bad reviews define you. Get immediate help from Webamax.
All right, Duke fans, you know you've been waiting for this one. Episode 690 of the DBR podcast. Duke Basketball Roundup. Jason Evans here with my good buddy, my partner in crime, Donald and Wine. Donald, last night we hopped on for 10 minutes or so to just laugh. Just laugh about this game. Now we have to do the full thing. Are you ready? Are you prepared?
I'm ready. I will also just warn people, this is going to be long because we're going to talk a lot about this game, but also, stay after the credits because apparently this game was not the biggest thing that happened last night. We have discussed that already, and we will give that to you afterwards. We usually don't tease post-credit content, but in this case, we kind of have to because that was pretty big.
So the final score from Durham is the Blue Devils 87, North Carolina 70. Donald, I want to start, before we get to the headlines or anything else, I do want folks to understand how absurd that final score is compared to how the game actually went. Bart Torvik, who we talk about a good deal on this show, is not as interested in final margin, final score, as a lot of the other metric folks. Bart Torvik uses something he calls average margin. He says, if you were leading by 6 most of the game and you get fouled a lot at the end and you pour it on a little bit and you win by 14, that's not the same as if you were leading by 22 and the other team gets some threes at the end and you win by 4. Like those, a 14-point game can be 2 very, very different things. I mean, heck, a 6-point game can be 2 very, very different things if you led by 12 throughout or if it was, back and forth. So Bart Torvik uses a different metric that he calls average margin. And the average lead for Duke in this game was 18.9 points, according to Bart Torvik. Average margin, 18.9 points. To be clear, I want folks to understand, the game just a few days ago where Duke beat NC State by 10 points, Duke's average margin was minus 1.2. Because remember, State led throughout most of that game. Now, that's not to say that Torvik thinks that average margin is more important than wins and losses and the such, but it is part of his metric. And again, Duke's average margin, 18.9 this game. To put that in perspective, the game where we blew out Miami by 35, you remember that game, Donald.
Mm-hmm.
Duke's average margin there was 17.3. So this was a bigger win, according to Torvik, than the game where he blew out Miami by 35. In fact, the only game all year where Duke's average margin was larger than 18.9 points was the game against Wofford. Do you remember that game? Mm-hmm. 86-35. We won by 51, but 86-35. That's the only game that Torvik's computer says was a bigger win than this game. In fact, like the game where we beat Army 100-58, that had an average margin of 15.7 points. So as far as that advanced metric is concerned, this was a bigger victory than Duke's 100-58 win over Army.
You want to know how over this was? On KenPom and other places, right? Like ESPN, they do the win probability percentage. You can update it during the game, like with 10 minutes left. You can see if it's at 87% or if it. Yeah. You usually only look at it if some team has a huge comeback, right? Where they go, they had a 98% chance of probability, and then they lost the game. Well, according to KenPom, Duke had a 100% chance of winning with 12 minutes left in the game.
I saw that.
It dropped to 99.9% for about 30 seconds between the 11-minute mark and the 10-minute mark, and then went back up to 100%. And despite the fact that UNC went on an 18-2 run from like 9 minutes to about 2 minutes, it never dropped below 100% the rest of the game.
Yeah. By the way, I saw the same thing on Ken Palm. Duke was 99+%, not 100. You're right about the 100 came in the second half, in the middle of the second half. Duke was 99+% to win the game from the 14-minute mark of the first half.
First half, yeah.
Literally 6 minutes into the game, he's like, it's over.
Over.
It would take a 1% miracle for Carolina to come back. I mean, come on.
That's how fun this game was to watch.
All right. We've had enough of the preamble. Let's get us to a little bit of the headlines. I mean, as usual, it will come as no surprise when I tell you that the dbrpodcast@gmail.com inbox was humming.
It was.
We got a lot. We got a lot. And so, of course, as usual, got to pick the best of the best. I loved Jason Beer. Jason Beer gave us Duke treated UNC like a group project. The Devils did all the work while the Heels just watched.
Yes. That one was fun. I didn't even know if that was a headline or if that was just his synopsis of the game, but we're going to take
Whatever
it as a headline
it was
because
great.
it was great. K-Man, again, kind of figuring out if you were watching this game last night and you were wondering who Duke was playing, K-Man answers it for you. Was that a mid-major? Duke avoids the anxiety and wire-to-wire takedown of the Tar Heels.
Yeah. Oh, I talked last night, folks. Again, if you have not listened to what we did last night, I talked about the fact that it was the most relaxing Carolina game. No stress, no nothing. Just like, oh, we got this practically from the tip. Courtney Kruger, another one who gives us a lot of good content. After the Duke game, she said Carolina changed their school colors to black and blue. Yeah, they were bruised and beaten.
Yeah, Dave Jordan submitted a bunch of them, but my favorite from him was Duke UNC 1, The Wrath of Khan, which I thought was a great reference to Star Trek. Awesome.
John Grantland gave us a Khan pun. No contest. Cooper and Khan turned UNC into UNITC. NIT, baby. Carolina's probably off the bubble at this point.
Off the bubble the wrong way.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Brad Spencer had one. Spicy KC sauce chokes heels. And then also Matt Bledsoe, which I thought was kind of cool because we talked about this with Brendan Marks the other day, Jason. He wrote, Hubert wears jacket to Tar Heels funeral in Durham. And I know after this game, I had a lot of friends who were UNC adjacent, not UNC like Tar Heel alums, but they're adjacent fans. They were wondering if that Bunsen burner has been lit under the seat of Hubert Davis.
Yeah. Okay. So I got two to close us out. First of all, Anthony Sherry. Anthony came in with a poem. Con Oop led the way. The rest just had to play. Duke's D made UNC pay. Sorry, Carolina. It was Duke's day. And then he simply said, Duke is legit. The Heels are something that rhymes with legit. And then the last one I have, Lee Maxson. Lee, this is a chef's kiss, my friend. Headlines. We don't need no stinking headlines. We just beat the Tar Heels to a pulp. Lee, that is the perfect way to close the headline segment. We don't need no stinking headlines. We just beat the ever-living boop out of them.
Did I mention that was fun, Jason? That was a fun thing. And also, thank you to everyone. We had, like you said, we got a lot of great submissions for this one. Winning does that, and especially beating Carolina, we get our best from you, the listeners. So we appreciate all of you, and sorry to the ones that emailed and we couldn't get back to you. Of course, we try to get back to as many as we can, but this was a great round. So hats off to you all.
All right, Donald. Let's start with the good and the bad, and I want to begin with the defense. The story of the game to me, at least, and I want to be clear, it's tough like when looking at stats and things like that for this game, because Carolina had that crazy run at the end. I think it was 18-2, something like that, where it was 18-2, where they closed in the final 9 minutes, a 32-point Duke lead down to a final margin of 17, which is in no way indicative of what this game was like. So on the one hand, when you look at Carolina's shooting percentages or their point total, it doesn't show how much Duke's defense dominated this game. I thought the story of the game was Carolina's inability through the first 30 minutes to get any good shots. And full credit to them. They made some tough ones. R.J. Davis, Ian Jackson really made some difficult shots, but up until the flurry at the end, where Duke had clearly lost some focus and the game was, as we said, 100%, it was over. Carolina couldn't come close to getting in any kinds of offensive flow. They would occasionally have a little bit of success when man would get switched onto RJ. But when Malik Brown was in the game, forget it. Carolina got nothing. They're just comically small. And like Elliot Cadeau would find his way into the lane, and suddenly he's surrounded by trees. He couldn't shoot over it. He couldn't pass out of it. He's just forced to throw up some crazy wild off-balance shot. I think he was 1 of 8 on 2-point shots. Most of the time, Duke's just racing the other direction because Carolina's guys can't get anything good. I can't even count how many bad shots they were forced to take because they were just unable to shake the bigger, longer Duke defenders. And in this game, it's a crazy. We talked in the pregame, Donald. North Carolina is one of the best teams in the country at turnovers. On offense, the thing they do better than anything else on offense is not turn the ball over. Duke had 10 steals.
Yeah.
Good God, Duke had 7 steals in the first 15 minutes of this game. It is, for Duke to get 10 steals, 14 total turnovers on North Carolina, I never thought we'd see a number like that. And by the way, the steals, almost all of them, were Duke racing the other direction in Carolina like, oh my God, it's a 3-on-1. I'm about to get dunked on or something like that. It just happened again and again and again. And it happened so much early on, as I said, 7 in the first 15 minutes, that Carolina had the fight taken out of them. They were done, early in this game.
There was a theme for UNC, and when they were on offense, you mentioned the switching on defense. There was a point when Malik Brown finally checked into the game. He was at the top of the key, and he did not leave the top of the key for an entire possession. And it was very funny because it seemed like every UNC guy would take their turn at getting the ball, seeing that Malik Brown was at the top of the key and going, oh no, I do not want any part of this. And so they would do the dribble to the wing, hand the ball off to somebody. That guy would dribble
get switched onto that guy.
And they'd dribble it, and they'd find Malik Brown, and they'd pick people like, oh no, I too don't want a part of this. And they did this with all 5 guys. They kind of just did this. All of a sudden, one guy's like, maybe if I get the ball and I pass it, then I won't have to have Malik Brown on my face anymore. And Malik Brown deflects it out of bounds. So he had that kind of effect. But also, Jason, it reminded me also of what they did when they were on defense. And when they were on defense, if you notice, there was a couple of times during the first half where UNC switched into a zone and Duke would absolutely punish them. And then the next one, they'd be like, okay, that was stupid. Let's get away from that. And then a couple minutes later, they go, you know what we're going to do? We're going to really switch it up on them. We're going to play zone. Oh, no, they just dominated for 3 straight possessions in the zone. Let's abandon the zone. Jason, today is February 2nd. But Groundhog Day started last night because UNC just kept doing this only to realize, yep, no, this still ain't working. And just like the Groundhog, there was a big shadow, and that was covered. It was the Blue Devil shadow that was covering them all game long on defense. And despite the global warming that we are feeling this morning from 8 miles down the road, it feels like spring is never coming to UNC Chapel Hill because that's how they played last night. They were just out of it. And there's times where you could see on their faces when they were in their huddle, they're like, man, we're just doing this just to do it, but we know that this game is done.
So I want to talk about the Malik Brown lineup with Sion, Proctor, Khan, and Cooper. And look, I love Man, and he's a great player, and there are going to be plenty of games where we need him in the lineup more than we need Malik Brown. But in this game, when you put the 4 starters with Malik Brown, they played together for 13 minutes and 41 seconds of this game. During that time, during that 13:40, they outscored Carolina 30-16. Had that lineup stayed together the whole 40 minutes, and I know that's absurd, that's not really going to happen, but you have to have some perspective to understand it. Had that lineup played together, by the way, that was Duke's most successful lineup. Had that lineup played together for the entire 40 minutes, I calculated the final score would have been 88-46.
I thought I was done laughing, Jason. I'm sorry.
Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Against a team that thinks they're, it's on the cusp of being a tournament team, 88-46. That's what Malik Brown means to this Blue Devil team. He's just so disruptive. He had 2 steals. There's no stat that, Our
He
box
had
score
umpteen
doesn't.
deflections. Forget about the steal number. He had umpteen deflections. If you know what umpteen is, that's a lot of deflections.
Exactly. Look, the score was 7-6, and that was right around the time Malik Brown came in the game, and Duke went on a 16-0 run. A few minutes later, we went on another 11-0 run. It was 40-15. 40-15 with 5 minutes left in the first half. The game was over. I know that Pomeroy wanted another 10 minutes to go to 100%. The game was over at 40-15. And a lot of that, again, 15 points, a lot of that is the defense. Because, by the way, the offense got to 40 because the defense was just creating havoc for Carolina, and Duke was getting easy looks at the other end as we raced the other direction.
You know, earlier yesterday before our game, Kansas played at Baylor, and Kansas was up on Baylor 40-15 at one point in the first half, and they ended up losing that game.
Wait, no, it wasn't. No, their maximum lead was 21, I was told.
Okay, I'm sorry. 30. It was 36-15. They
Yes.
were up at that point because I turned it on and I was like, "Oh, this game's over," and I just kind of had it on the background. And they were able to catch up and beat them. You know, if you look at the
They
score,
won by 10.
Yeah, they beat them running away.
By the way, really quick, did you see the two halftime scores of that game?
Yes,
So it was 40-19 Kansas in the first half. They
that's what I
doubled
was
them.
thinking at halftime. 40-19. Yeah,
40-21, 40-19.
40-21.
40-21 was the halftime score. They doubled them essentially in the first half. The second half, Baylor outscored them 60-30.
Yeah, and
Baylor scored 60 points and a half.
And so when I saw this game, right, we're up 40-15, and we're all having a good time, and I'm texting my friends, and I'm just like, more. My best friend was like, I hope, before the game, he's like, I hope this feels like a game we win by 20. And like 10 minutes in, he was like, I might have been wrong about this because we were already up 20 at that point. And I go, more, just give me more. And the fact is, Duke gave us more. And despite that 18-2 run at the end, when's the last time, Jason, we had an 18-2 run against us and we were like, yeah, that's fine, sounds good. You have your fun over there for a few minutes. We've still won this game by 17 points. That's how far out they were and how much they dominated on both sides of the basketball. And again, when UNC would resort to foul us, we nailed them at the free throw line too. We were 20 for 25, I think, right? So we were getting the job done in all facets of the game. Hats off to everybody on the team for what they did. And I will say, because we didn't do it at the top and we should, the Crazies were on point last night. The din that was Cameron Indoor Stadium, that is what it should be every single game. But we know because it's UNC, it's a little bit more, ratchet it up a bit. And it was. You guys brought the noise, and I could feel it here at home. I know in the building, people were probably having headaches. I think the team should be sponsored by BC Powder again, like they were back in the day. But that was what it should be. And I think even Cooper said, "Man, it's so loud in here. I can't really concentrate like I normally do in here." And then he was like, "Oh wait, no, this is my team. I'm not on the road. I'm good." But yes, this game was just all levels. Duke showed up ready to dominate. Like I said last night, this team is built a little bit different, and they said, "Hey, once we're up 25, we want more." And whenever there was a little bit of a lull, they got back at it, and they made sure that there was no room or no oxygen for UNC to breathe the entire night.
All right, I want to get to the two offensive stars of the game, Cooper Flagg and Con Knipple, who were so much bigger than the guy guarding them.
Mm-hmm.
It was a little bit like, like you see those videos of like Kevin Durant, KD at like a basketball camp, and they'll call out like a 12-year-old kid to guard him, and KD kind of just looks down at the little kid, smiles a little bit, and then goes around him and scores with ease. That's what it felt like at times for Cooper Flagg. Seth Trimble was guarding Cooper, and the Carolina the Carolina coaching staff had decided, they're like, you know what we can do? We could double Cooper. He's gonna be bigger than Seth, but we'll double him as soon as he gets the ball. Send a double team. That'll throw him off. I'm sure that looked really, really good in the coach's room. I'm sure that idea, like they put that on paper, they're like, yeah, this is gonna work. I mean, to call it a disaster, they would send the double because poor Seth Trimble is like, he's staring at Cooper's waist. He couldn't even look him in the eye. Uh, they would send the double team, and Cooper would be like, "Oh, one of my teammates is wide, wide, wide open. Hey, Sion, go ahead and cut to the basket. Okay, here's a dunk. Hey, Khan, Tyrese, you guys want to be wide open from three? Have a shot, guys." It was outrageous. To me, the most impressive thing about Cooper's line, 21 points, 8 rebounds, 3 steals, 2 blocks. It was the 7 assists. The 7 assists and it just felt like Cooper was in complete control on offense the whole time. The crazy thing is he actually didn't even shoot that great. Like he was 6 of 14 on shots. He missed several shots. I was like, really, Coop? You don't miss that shot very often. He was only 6 of 9 at the line. You said we were good at the line, but Coop wasn't that great at the line. I think maybe he felt sorry for UNC a little bit.
Yeah. Well, we
But
could, like you said, we could see over everything, right? Like
yeah,
there was a point where I think again it was after a switch on defense. Um, man ended up on Elliot Cadeau for like 2 seconds, and I think they had like a tie up, and Elliot Cadeau kind of gets up and kind of, you know how guys stand up, kind of like, yeah, I got the ball, and he looked all the way up at Kama Malawach, who was a foot taller than him, over a
yeah,
foot taller than him,
yeah.
and
Well, more. Yeah.
Man was looking down at him like, okay, you can have the ball, but it's going the other way. We're on offense now, so come down here and do that down here. And it's just the way that they were able to see over UNC on both offense and defense. They were able to read passes. They were able to find guys, and it was for the very first very opening tip, right? Like Cooper was responsible for the first 18 points via basket or assist, and a lot of them were just like, oh. I see this pass. They don't, but I do. And here it comes. And you have a guy on the other end who was finishing at the rim.
Yeah, and the other guy who had the massive height advantage and really took advantage of it was Con Knipple, who finishes with 22 points, 5 rebounds, 5 assists. By the way, Coop and Con both have not just 10-5-5 games, they have 25-5.
25-5. Yeah.
Yeah. I think I read Coop is one of like three Duke players in history to have 20 points, 7 rebounds, 7 assists against UNC. Yeah. But
Yeah,
anyway.
it's like Danny Ferry and
Oh,
Tyus
and Trey
Jones.
Jones. Trey
No,
Jones.
Tyus Jones.
No, I think it was Trey in the
It said Trey, but it said 2015, so it was a
Oh.
misprint. But that was Tyus if it was 2015.
in any event, I was talking about Khan, and I don't want to be diverted from him. I actually thought, especially in the second half, he was even more dominant than Cooper was. And I mean, I don't know who you'd say was the player of the game because Khan's domination kind of came when the game was a little bit more out of reach, but it was almost more dominant than what Cooper did because Khan was just getting in the lane, going to the basket on a guy who had no chance of stopping him. I'd sort of said coming into this game, we talked a lot about the size. And I said that I expected, Khan and Tyrese, I thought both of them were going to be able to get into the lane and shoot over the defenders easier than usual. Like when Elliot Cadeau and RJ Davis, Ian Jackson, when they try and stick a hand in your face, they're 2, 3, 4, 5 inches shorter than the guy who's usually sticking a hand in your face. And none of those guys are particularly unbelievably long. Like there's some players out there who are really, really long who can make up for the lack of height. That they're just not quite long enough to be able to do it. And I thought Khan's ability to get in the lane, to get the guy guarding him in a spot where the guy can't stop him. Khan was 5 of 7 on twos. Every one of them was taken in the lane without much of a contest. And I just thought that it was smart on his part. Great recognition of, take what the defense will give you. I thought both he and Coop were borderline unstoppable at times.
Khan, there was several plays where he would go towards the rim, and you kind of know, like from previous games, right? You kind of go towards the rim. He's like, okay, I'm gonna have one, maybe two guys come on me. So he starts looking for for another guy to throw the ball to, maybe for like a skip pass for a three, and he'd get all the way to the rim and realize nobody has actually, come up to try and guard me yet. I guess I will just lay this in or I will dunk it. And there were several times where he would get all the way to the rim and kind of look shocked as he went up, like, are you guys really not going to challenge this? You're just going to let me do this? And would just finish with ease. And I think that was part of his game, is that it's almost like UNC abandoned the fact that they knew they just couldn't beat Khan to his spot. And even if they did, they wouldn't know what to do with that accomplishment. And so Khan was able to get to the lane. He was able to get to his spots. He was able to, again, kind of sneak around like he used to do earlier in the season, where he'd kind of sneak around and everyone would kind of forget about him. And all of a sudden, oh, wow, he's the only guy on one side of the court. He gets the ball. He shoots a three. We had a lot of those plays, not just with him, but with like Tyrese Proctor, even Sion James had open shots where they were able to just kind of be, in the corner, and all of a sudden everyone's focused on Cooper. Cooper passes the ball to somebody who passes the ball to the guy in the corner, and then UNC would just give up on the play. And so we had a lot of open shots, not just from three, but in the lane, because UNC, it felt like they felt defeated the whole game. After that first flurry, the first couple minutes, where they realized, hey, this team is going to get anything they want on us, and then they weren't shooting the ball well. It's just almost like they just kind of said, well, this is what it's going to be. And
no fight.
They didn't stop us. They didn't stop us from torching them, right? Like, we didn't feel sorry for them, and that's the deal here. That's what Duke UNC is all about. If your team's just going to let you have it, then you take it. And even if they're going to let you take it even more. Right? That's what it was. And it felt like every single time we went down, we looked for a new way to try and get in on the defense, only for the defense for UNC to just kind of, back up and say, we can't stop you. And so when you tell Cooper at Con that, what are they going to do? They're going to do 25-5 like they just did.
I also want to shout out Sion James and Tyrese Proctor. Dudes combined for 30 points on 9 of 17 shooting, very efficient. They were the perfect release valves for Cooper and Con. These are two guys who ostensibly are playing, point guard. Two guys who've played a ton of point guard in their career. And they're both like, no, I'm good letting these other guys initiate the action and being the release valve. And even though the ball was in their hands, like 1/10 as much as Cooper and Con, both Sion and Tyrese had 3 assists each. And in this game, Duke had 20 assists on 28 made baskets. That's a 71% assist rate.
That'll work.
Yeah. Passing was sublime at times. It was really, really beautiful. And we didn't commit turnovers. This was just a thing of beauty on offense, and it was all everybody in the game participating in that thing of beauty.
Yeah, we also shot well, and I know we hadn't shot well in the games against Wake Forest and NC State, but against UNC, it almost felt like we got better in the second half, and the 18-2 run that UNC had was kind of a result of us going for some plays. It wasn't a lot of steals on their part. It was a lot of, non-steal turnovers, us throwing the ball out of bounds because we were trying to feed it through a sea of players and a guy would bobble it. I think there was also the turnover where Isaiah Evans had the great defensive play. I believe it was on Elliot Cadeau. He stripped the ball, and then he just it bounced out of his hands on the line. So again, those I'm not necessarily concerned about, but yes, we took care of the basketball. We were able to shoot well. And we did magnificent on defense, save for, a 4-minute stretch. And I'm really excited at this team going off of this high, right? Like being able to use this and other teams in years past, we kind of go, okay, now we got to kind of, get back down to what we need to do and not let this take us too much of a high. But again, this team just feels like they're on a mission, and I don't know if they felt disrespected or what, but they entered that game with a purpose, and they achieved that purpose in the first 5 minutes, and they did not stop from there.
All right. Unless you got something else, we're going to go ahead and head on and take a break right now. On the other side, there are a few criticisms. Not a lot, but there are a few little nits we got to pick, and we have to do a play of the game, and a player of the week. All that's coming up as the DBR podcast continues.
This episode is brought to you by Tic Tac. Close your eyes and take a ride with new Tic Tac Citrus Adventure. Awaken your senses with harmonies of sour and tangy fruit flavors. Picture the vibrant trio of mandarin, lemon, and lime as each flavor mingles to create a refreshing symphony. Pick up a pack and dive into new Tic Tac Citrus Adventure. Visit @TicTacUSA on social to share the good vibes.
Donald, we're back from the break. Time to hit a little bit of the bad from this game. Look, it's obvious. I'll start off with a really obvious one. With 9 minutes left, Duke went up 77-45, 32-point lead. And I thought we were going to see a minute, maybe 2 minutes of Spencer Hubbard. You know, I thought Spencer was going to get a chance to score on Carolina. Didn't happen because the Heels went on a 18-2 run. I thought we looked disinterested in those final few minutes. We weren't looking for the highest quality shot the way we had been earlier. Carolina started to throw in some stuff that they hadn't been throwing in earlier in the game. I mean, but let's be honest, 18-2 run, that shouldn't happen. It just shouldn't happen.
Yeah, I think this, again, we can give the excuses, of what happened and what led to it. But at the end of the day, you don't need that, right? I'm sure when they look at the game film, the coaching staff is going to zero in on the fact that, hey, we took our foot off the gas. We were, complacent. We let UNC get back, feel like they were getting back into the game, even though it might have been over. We need to let teams know, kind of going back to what we heard this summer, right, from the team, where they said, hey, in that under 4 timeout, we want their fans to be heading for the exits because this game is over. Obviously, they weren't able to do that. We weren't able to get the, Cameron Sheffield and Neil Begovic and Spencer Hubbard into this game because we took our foot off the gas. And so, again, not a huge cause for concern, but it's definitely something we're like, hey, against better teams, we can't take our foot off the gas, even if we're up, 25, 30 points. We have to continue to press for more points. In that way, that's how you get everybody involved. The other thing, Jason, that I thought was interesting was in this game, and it might be because we shot better than we have in the last couple weeks, is that we were out rebounded by UNC. We told you before the game that UNC wasn't as great at offensive rebounding as they have been in years past, and that's notably because guys like Armando Bacot aren't there anymore. But they had 12 offensive rebounds to our 7, and they out rebounded us. And again, that's one thing that we thought was going to be a huge advantage for us. And to their credit, during that run especially, they were able to get some second chance points and are just able to maintain possessions because they were able to get the rebound and keep us off the glass. So, that's heart, that's concentration, that's execution, and that's just tenacity. Those things obviously shouldn't ever dissipate in a game, but that's how you get out rebounded 31-26.
They had a couple possessions, Carolina did, where it felt like they got like 3 or 4 offensive rebounds on a single possession. Kind of crazy. I was watching it happen. I was like,
it was like out of position stuff too. It wasn't like they were muscling us, because you can't when your guards are 4 or 5 inches shorter than your guards. That's not going to happen. But what they were doing was getting in the right positions to get the basketball. They even had that one. I think it was Eli Cadeau was like on the ground. And the ball hits the rim and flies off and goes all the way down, and he on the ground was able to get that ball. So it's again, you want to be in the right position so that, I mean, they always teach you, if you're in the right position and all 5 of you guys are boxing out your guy and you're in the right position, the ball should hit the floor, and the only people around it should be your guys. That wasn't happening at times, and I think that's something that rebounding has kind of been helter-skelter, although we've been fairly good at it. There's been times where we've shown some stretches that we obviously need to improve in that department. And again, bigger teams, we're going to be playing Florida State, which is the second biggest team in the country. Like, you can't do that against Florida State, no matter how bad they may be on offense and defense. You want to win the rebounding battle, because that means you're limiting them to one shot every single possession.
The other thing I had in the bad, and by the way, it's worth noting, Carolina, I talked about the fact that they hit like 53% of their shots. They hit a fairly good 37, 38% from 3. They still got mollywopped.
Right.
But the other thing I had in the bad that I wanted to mention was, frankly, other than Malik Brown, our bench did not do very, very much at all. Isaiah Evans hit a 3. Mason hit a 3. Very nice in the flow of the game. Caleb Foster got a rebound. That's about Isaiah. I think Isaiah may have had a rebound. He had that steal that he then turned over immediately. The rest of the bench just didn't. It wasn't that they were bad, but they weren't all that impactful. And frankly, they didn't play all that much. It really feels like Shire has six guys that he likes. And yeah, Mason, Isaiah, Caleb, they're going to see some minutes, but I think in big games, it is very clear, the four, Sion, Tyrese, Khan, and Cooper are all playing 32 plus minutes, maybe 34, 35 plus minutes. And then Man and Malik are splitting 35 plus, if not 40 minutes at center. And then there's just not a lot left for the other guys. This team seems getting pretty stratified in terms of what the bench can provide versus what the starters are doing. I don't have a huge problem with that. That's not an unusual thing, and we have seen repeatedly that when given an opportunity, when needed, these bench guys can step up. But it does feel like Shire is, I don't want to say trusting them less, but he is more comfortable with the starters plus Malik.
I mean, when we get hurt, we're like, whenever Malik Brown comes back, it was going to be a question of how many minutes that Mason Gillis gets in. And, we knew Ngongba's minutes were going to be diminished extremely, right? And he played a few minutes. Him and Darren Harris both got trillions. But I think at the end of the day, we were not necessarily concerned, but we were interested to see how the disparity in minutes between Mason Gillis and Malik Brown would be. Mason Gillis almost gets just under 7 minutes. Malik Brown had 15 and a half minutes. And so I think also in this, again, his first game back. So you have to expect maybe his minutes will go up a couple more minutes, right? It might be where it's to the point where, Man, who played a little over 20 minutes, and Malik Brown are going to combine, like you said, for like 35 to 37 minutes at that 5 position. And then the rest of it will kind of be split amongst a bunch of guys, depending on the rotations that they want to put in. But I think the bench just needs to be able to produce with the minutes that is on the floor. That's one thing that carried us in the first part of this winning streak that we're on, is our bench was lighting it up, right? We had guys like Isaiah Evans coming in and getting 10, 12, 18 points, whatever it was. So you had to have the bench be able to produce when it does. And it doesn't necessarily have to be all on points, right? It can produce in other ways. Malik Brown didn't score a ton of points, but he was able to provide defense and steals and all of that, rebounding. So I think as we move along, the one thing that's going to not necessarily hold us back, but the one thing that we need to make sure is completely on point is that our bench, when they are called on to perform, they produce. Because if they do, that drop off doesn't happen. And you have a point where teams just kind of, again, will throw their hands up and say, even their bench guys are killing us. And if that's a demoralizer beyond demoralizers. If you're like, okay, our starters are whipping us, now their bench is whipping us, when do we get a break? You don't. That's the idea. And so the idea is hopefully the bench can continue to improve in that area. And even if they have reduced minutes, they're producing when they do.
Got anything else in the bad?
No, I think that was, we were picking nits here. So yeah.
But by the way, I found the stat. John Shire talked about this in the post game. He said that this was Duke's top game, best game of the season in terms of deflections.
Mm-hmm.
The Duke bench, now again, it's not an official stat. The Duke bench tracked it. Shire said the number was 23. That's.
I told you.
Kidding me? How many possessions? By the way, we talk a lot about Carolina wanting to play at their pace versus Duke's pace. This is a 65 possession game.
Mm-hmm.
That is Duke's pace. That is not North Carolina's pace. So Duke had 23 deflections in a 65 possession game. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Like 40+% of the time Carolina brought the ball down up the floor.
Now,
Duke
does that count steals too? Does that count, or is that inclusive of steals? Like, is that a steal deflection?
I'm sure a steal is a deflection. I don't even want to imagine.
Right? Like, because if we're adding 10 to that, right? If we're adding 10 to that number,
that
makes
would be
it even
insane.
Worse. So, yes.
God. How do you even run an offense when the other team is basically knocking the ball around and disrupting you on 40, 50% of your possessions? It's impossible.
And the crowd is more cognizant of that too. If you notice, again, as loud as it was, the din would get ever so louder whenever there was a deflection. If
Yeah.
it, I'm talking about the deflection that would go out of bounds and they'd have to reset and throw the ball in. You could just tell everyone was like, "Ah, yeah." And everyone around, like, the guys are high fiving each other a little bit harder. Like, yeah, see the next one's going the other way. And a lot of times, again, 10 of those times, some of those deflections turned into steals. Where, hey, okay, we'll let you reset, but guess what? We're getting this ball at the end of this possession, and it's not going to be because the ball is going through your hoop. They're grabbing the ball and going the other way. And I'm sure UNC, when the sight lines that they had to look through to try and get an inbound pass to somebody, like, I mean, they're just throwing, blindfolded, throwing at a dartboard and hoping that they hit the bullseye.
Speaking of that, time for the play of the game, and you have segued beautifully to my play of the game.
Uh-huh.
2 minutes into this contest,
Uh-huh.
Elliot Cadeau, and Elliot Cadeau is a genius of a passer, and he's at the top, and he sees one of his guys cut into the basket in the lane. This is what Elliot Cadeau does, as well as like anybody in the country. He tried one of these like thread the needle passes that usually hits a Carolina guy in stride, and he makes a layup, and you're like, damn. 2 minutes into the game, he tries one of those. Cooper Flag goes, nope, I'll take that ball. And he's racing the other direction, runs a beautiful fast break that ends up with a really nice Sion James reverse layup. At the time, I was like, oh, this is an early play of the game contender. Like, I'm taking my notes. I'm like, ooh, early contender. I'm making it my play of the game because that was indicative of what Duke did to Carolina all game long. Carolina would try to do something on offense. We would disrupt it, and we were going the other direction. So that play is my play of the game.
That was also my play of the game, Jason. So what I will use my time for is my honorable mention play of the game, and I think we talked about it. Raphael Lee, yo man,
Yes, baby.
can you hold? Can we give $5? He's the guy that hit. He's the student that hit the half court shot during College Game Day. He won $19,000. Great shot. It was a knuckleball, which is kind of weird.
Yeah, it was moving.
It was kind of if you saw the angle from the side, you're like, oh, that's a good shot. No rotation, but cool, good shot. And from the overhead cam on the rim, you could see kind of it was all over the place, but somehow it did Drano. So congratulations to you, Raphael Lee. We here at the DBR podcast would love it if you would like to sponsor us for a segment of the play of the game. DBR podcast at gmail.com. No, in all seriousness,
He's
congratulations.
he needs that 19 grand.
He said he's going to use the money on spring break and to help his brother pay his student loans, which I think is pretty cool. So congratulations to you. Great shot. Unfortunately, it was not during the game, so you cannot be the play of the game, but this is why you get the honorable mention.
I love it. Time for our player of the week. Donald, most weeks I'm like, I wonder if I can look around, if I can find a guy other than Cooper. Is there someone? And honestly, if you want to pick, Con Knipple had a hell of a week. I mean, for that matter, Tyrese Proctor, a lot of guys, Malik Brown coming back from injury. But I'm sorry. Cooper Flag had 49 points this week. He had 15 rebounds. He had 10 assists. He had 3 block shots. He had 4 steals. He was dominant in both of the games. So Cooper Flag is my player of the game. Player of the week, I should say.
My player of the week, I'm glad you mentioned Cooper so that I can pick Con Knipple. Con Knipple, 41 points. 41 points, 11 rebounds, 5 assists, 5 steals, 1 block this week. Jason, you're a movie guy. I'm a movie guy. Batman is one of the great superheroes of all time, but Batman was at his best when Robin was next to him. And for Con Knipple to be kind of the other star in this for the entire week was really cool. And to watch them kind of go toe-to-toe. Like, when do you have 2 guys get 25 fives? We can barely have 1 guy get a 10-5 in some of these games, but we got 2 guys getting 25 fives, and it's because they were able to feed off of each other, which is very, very cool to see. And the fact that, again, both of them are getting better as we move along. I do, Jason, want to make an honorable mention note. This is not a player. I need to shout out John Shire and the coaching staff. We've talked about this week, right? This Big 4 tournament week that we just had, Wake Forest, NC State, and now UNC. And throughout the fact that we haven't mentioned the fact that apparently Cooper was very, very sick I think we mentioned it last night, but Cooper apparently was very, very sick. This has been something that it feels like half this team has been sick all year.
They've been dealing with bugs. Yeah.
Bug, and it's just it's the winter season. The flu's around, and there's a bunch of stuff going around that people are just can't dodge. And when you're in a team setting, a lot of people just don't understand the fact that teams get sick all the time because they have to be with each other all the time. So the hope is that you all get sick at once, so that you all don't have to deal with it for forever. This team feels like this has been the biggest adversity they've had, is everybody being sick all the time. But this team was ready for all of these games. And through some of the adversity that they faced in some of these games, namely Wake Forest and NC State, this coaching staff was there to get them back on track, to keep them focused, and to keep their eye on the prize. And I just want to shout them out for what they did this week. They don't get enough credit for preparing a team for, again, a Tobacco Road rivalry. At the end of that week, Duke 3, Tobacco Road 0. That is, I'll take that flying into this week, which is another big week for us, because it ends with another big game. One of these big games we've been talking about. The games, again, don't get easier, but this coaching staff has proven that they are ready for the task, just like the players.
So you're mentioning, we were talking about the fact that Cooper and Khan won our Player of the Week awards. I went and I looked while you were chatting there for a second. In Duke's past 11 games, Ken Pomeroy picks a MVP of the game, but based on stats. His computers are doing it for him. It's based exclusively on statistics. In Duke's past 11 games, Cooper Flagg has won the MVP award 8 times. The 3 times he didn't, it was won by Con Knipple each time.
Yeah.
And Con won it for the Carolina game as well. He interrupted a streak, by the way. I mean, Coop had won, what's the number now? Coop had won, he'd only won 3 in a row, but he'd won 7 of the past 8. But, so Con busted his streak a little bit. But, yeah, those two guys, I mean, there's not a lot more you can say.
It's been fun. Let's keep it going.
Exactly.
We got a couple games this week. We got, Syracuse, and then
Syracuse,
we're at
and then
Clemson.
at Clemson. I'm going to be at that Clemson game. I haven't heard back from the press department yet about my request for a ticket, but they've given me one every time. So I imagine I'm going to be at that Clemson game. I'm really looking forward to that. We got a big week with Syracuse coming up before then. Until then, that's Donald. I'm Jason. These are the dominant, undefeated in the ACC, Duke Blue Devils. And here's the Duke band playing us out, taking us home. And folks, stick around. A little bit of trade talk after the band.
Go to hell, Carolina. I'm glad we got that pod out.
Yeah.
In a way, because for a game that was that great, for it to be overshadowed by arguably the greatest trade in NBA history.
Unbelievable. I saw a tweet that was incredible. This guy, I forget if I posted it to our chat or not. This guy tweeted and he said, can you imagine the conversation?
Oh, yeah, you posted that. Yeah.
Yeah, the Mavs call and they go, we want AD. And the Lakers go, we're not interested. And the Mavs go, we're offering Luka. And the Lakers say, AD will be there.
AD will be there in the morning. Yeah. No, I went out afterwards, right? I was just with some friends. We're watching the various sports and just, having a couple and catching up. And we finished at 9 recording last night. And
yeah.
We were finished at 9, and then I think we were out till it was a little after 12 when I was dropping my best friend off. And I dropped him off and checked my phone. Nothing was happening. It takes me 10 minutes to get home. In the 10 minutes that I drove from his house to my apartment, Beyonce announced a tour and Luka Doncic was traded. And so I get home and my chat that normally I had caught up, so I was at 0, had 100 messages in 10 minutes, and I was like, "Hey guys, what did I miss on my drive home?" And they're like, "Bruh."
Yeah.
I was like, "Wait, this Shams thing, did he get hacked? This says that Luka got traded to 8." Oh, I'm scrolling up. Oh no, this is real. And then he had the tweet that said, "Yes, this is real."
I mean, do you see ESPN gave the Lakers an A+ on the trade and gave the Mavs an F?
I didn't need ESPN to tell me that. When you trade Luka Doncic for basically, a 31-year-old who is, as injury prone as he is.
He's 32. He's 32.
As injury
and
prone
his body
as he
feels
is.
like it's 38.
And you have just one draft pick and a couple of other guys. Like
It's unfathomable.
The other trade that was funny was the Utah Jazz. It was somebody like, imagine the Utah Jazz going, "Wait, we're the third team in what trade?"
Well, I saw someone else who said they were like, Danny Ainge heard that there was a superstar trade going down, and he just had to get involved, even if it was just to get a couple second-round draft picks.
Yeah, it did. He did. He just came in as like, you need need a third party to kind of facilitate this. Like, I take this and you take that. Cool, I'll do that. Yeah, that sounds good. Pleasure doing business with you. You enjoy the fallout, and they just kind of retreated.
Oh my God.
I mean, they still talk about it. It was funny this morning. They said, "Hey, on what is now Super Bowl week, it took 57 minutes for ESPN to talk about the Super Bowl."
Yeah. Did you see the Vegas odds?
Yeah, how they changed.
Yeah, the Lakers went from like 40-1 to like 15-1 to win the title.
But
and the
it
Mavs
was
switched.
reversed.
The Mavs went from like 18-1 to like 40. Yeah, it was just like
it went reversed.
Complete reversal. The money knows who won this trade.
I mean, it cost him $120 million because he can't do the Supermax anymore, Luka. But like,
yeah, I know.
The fact that they're coming out with he essentially he was like too fat and not willing to be conditioned properly. I'm like, now you done pissed him off. Now he's going to go to LA and he's going to be like next to LeBron, who is always ready, right? Like, and LeBron just teaches him how to like just be, 90% fit all the time. Like, now he's going to be pissed off that they play each other on February 28th or 25th.
Oh my God.
See TV. See TV.
Luka can go for 40 and 15. And by 15,
in the first
15
half,
rebounds and 15 assists.
In the first half, he's going to be like literally he's going to go to the end of the bench and be like, "JJ, who here has not gotten a lot of time? Bronny's getting 25 points tonight because I'm giving them 10 assists. Like, let's go." They're going to score 170 points in that game.
I mean, my thing about the whole conditioning thing where the Mavs are really frustrated he's not in condition, I want to be like, he single-handedly led you to the finals last year. If he was in bad condition, then okay. Like, he's still the second best player in the game in bad condition.
And they're both hurt. They both haven't played. It's not like you're trading for, again, a healthy AD. That'd be great. Like, a healthy AD is one of the top 5 guys in the world.
It's not like you're trading for like, if you told me, I would understand the trade more if you told me they traded Luka for Paulo Banchero.
Right.
For someone young or
young, right? Like, two budding
or Ant, or Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, or someone like that who's still, you're like, okay, his best years are probably AD. I don't get it. I don't get it.
It's a restart. It really is. And I wonder what Kyrie thinks. Yeah. And now Lively's like, okay, I had this whole plan
Lively
started
was
out.
Such a great fit with Luka, and he's going to be a terrible fit with AD.
Yeah, because AD is going to command the ball in the post, and Lively's just going to be more of a, hey, stop the rim. Unbelievable.